Usually stories start like this. Once upon a time, one quiet day, the Demon King appeared with his huge army. And, as usual, like a ray of hope in the pitchless darkness, an unknown hero appeared. It appeared at that very moment, as if he had been waiting for this event all his life. And in the final competition between the hero and the Demon King, the hero sacrificed himself, defeated the Demon King, and saved the world. And the Demon King descended underground and fell asleep, promising to return. After this, peace reigned in the world, and legends began to be made about the hero. The author is unknown, but this story about the Demon King continues to repeat itself forever and ever. And after many years, the following happened. We find ourselves in some kind of dungeon. From the perspective of a character still unknown to us, we see how he runs to the door and opens it. He turns to His Majesty, informing him that something terrible has happened. The Demon King asks his servant what happened. The demon replies that Demiurge, 666, awakened and immediately left the demon realm. He said that he was leaving the post of the Demon King, to which the Demon King indignantly asked, "What kind of nonsense?" The demon is so perplexed that he can barely utter a few words. But the Demon King quickly urges him to get down to business. The demon shows His Majesty a note from Demiurge, who says that he renounces the title of Demon King, and calling the others idiots, asks not to even try to find him. The next second, we move to the main character. He looks at the huge castle and asks himself, is this really the Arcoma castle of the Verda Kingdom? After that, he thinks to himself that it's really cool to be in the human world. He runs along the bridge, enjoying everything around him like a little child. Everything around him seems cool to him. Yes, everything is great, of course, except for one detail. This huge cross, towering at the highest point of the castle, is for him like a thorn against the background of a clear and beautiful sky. From his thoughts, the main character is distracted by a rough male voice heard nearby. Demiurge turns his head and sees the guards, one of whom called him a hillbilly. And he is also unhappy that the guy simply dared to walk near the castle walls. Did he really call him a hillbilly because of his clothes? Perhaps because his face is fine. The guard is outraged by the protagonist's silence and demands that he introduce himself. The guy looks at the guard in bewilderment and asks if he is telling this to him. At the same time, the thought comes to his mind that he cannot say that he is the 666th Demiurge. Therefore, he decides to remove a couple of letters from his name. The main thing is to make it a host of something. First, he greets the guard. Afterwards, he introduces himself as Durg. We hear another male voice. Angry that the main character dared to distort the name of the ancient god, has he really forgotten that he is in the capital? Count Bruo. This is the name of the man, followed by 4 more guards, says that he forgives our main character if he made a mistake out of ignorance, but only for the first time. After which he demands from the main character to immediately get out of here. But, instead of obeying the order, Demiurge asks the man if the kingdom of Verde is strong. The count does not understand the young man's question and looks at him with a surprised look. Demiurge asks another question. Do they have enough strength to consider him a king? The indignant count draws the sword and points it at the main character. For daring to insult the royal family, he will pay with his life. Well, since he pulled out a sword, then he is ready for the consequences. Demiurge's gaze instantly changes, and a red glow is visible in his pupil. In less than a second, the count's head explodes like a bomb, and the blood from his body scatters in a circle. The guard looks at this with a look full of horror and lack of understanding of what is happening. Suddenly, his head also begins to change shape in a strange way. A couple of moments later, the heads of 2 guards standing not far from the count also explode. The rest of the guards are confused. They do not understand what just happened. Demiurge slowly runs his finger through the air, as if drawing an invisible line, and as if, according to a given trajectory, the heads of the guards explode simultaneously. The archers, who were watching what was happening from the high walls of the castle, open fire on the main character. The arrows are about to approach him and pierce his body right through. However, he is in no hurry and calmly stands in place. He turns his gaze and looks intently at the archers. At the same moment, their heads explode. Afterwards, he orders the bodies to rise and greet their new king. The bodies of the count and the rest of the guards begin to float in the air upside down, and blood begins to flow from the places where their heads once were. They slowly approach the walls of the castle, covering the road to the gate, along which the main character steps, with scarlet liquid. A general alarm is announced, and the guards receive the news that everyone who is outside is dead. Some of them think that a war has begun and there is an enemy army outside the castle gates. Hundreds of guards gather in one place and await further developments. They look at the closed door in horror, completely unaware of who is on the other side. The answer does not take long to arrive. A few seconds later, the main character makes himself known by instantly destroying the massive doors. He had already dealt with some of the guards. Now it was their turn. And let their desperate cries merge into the sound of a fanfare. Indescribable horror appears on the face of each guard. Because they understand that all this time, the danger was represented by one stranger, not the enemy army, not even an elite squad of mercenaries. Only one guy managed to overcome the impregnable defenses. A dark, magical, and ominous aura accumulates around the demiurge. The heads of some guards immediately explode, and some suffer much worse. Their bodies are pierced by hellish pain that cannot be described in words. They literally ask to be killed because this suffering is like real hell. As the main character wished, the desperate cries of the guards merged into the sound of a fanfare. He watches what is happening with a smile, as if it were some kind of game for him. He does not feel any pity or compassion for these people. Their suffering for him is nothing more than a way to entertain himself. But suddenly, among the countless screams of the guards, he hears a man's voice reading a prayer. He turns his attention to a man dressed in shining golden armor. The man bends down on one knee and asks the Almighty Lord to lead them through the test of darkness to the bright light of truth. He wants God to help him overcome death and make the truth prevail. And for this, he asks God to give him the strength to crush evil and win. After these words, his sword shines with a bright light, and magical energy begins to be felt around him. Or a light? Is this really the same blood that the main character heard about? He cannot believe that the mysterious young man was able to break through the security of Arkham Castle on his own, even though he uses dark magic. However, the man is sure of one thing. With a decisive look and an animal grin, he tells the main character that he will not get through him, for the blessing of God is with him. He takes off and runs towards the main character at full speed. He jumps up and says that he may not be a pureblood, but he is able to defeat the main character. The knight lands and strikes with his sword, the shockwave of which spreads throughout the room with deafening force. He put all his might into this blow, and he is sure that this was enough to destroy the intruder. Very quickly, the confident look in his eyes disappears when he hears the voice of the main character. Maybe he put all his strength into the blow, but Demiurge easily stops the sword with just 2 fingers, not even with his whole hand. Now it's his turn to attack. Deciding to tease his opponent, Demiurge begins to say a prayer. He asks God to help him finish off this idiot, in whose eyes animal horror immediately appears, exactly the same as in the guards who encountered the main character. Now he also prayed. All that remains is to find out who God will listen to the one who probably destroyed several hundred people without the slightest regret, or to the person who faithfully serves God. Demiurge does not wait for an answer, and with a flourish, makes a huge hole in the knight's body, taking out a strange black substance from there. He says that God should never be mentioned in his presence again. This infuriates him so much that he is ready to kill people uncontrollably. The knight, losing his vitality, realizes to his chagrin that he lost this battle, and he will never have a second chance. Demiurge squeezes the mysterious black substance, and it scatters in different directions. After this, he heads to the throne room, where a crowd of guards has already gathered. This is the last line of defense that separates the enemy from the king sitting on the throne. The guards do not understand why the enemy is completely alone, because in order to get here, it was necessary to destroy all the guards, including that special knight. An elderly and wrinkled old man with a crown on his head asks the main character who he is. Since the old man is the only one who wears the crown, Demiurge realizes that he is the king of this castle and invites him to talk. One of the guards points a weapon at the protagonist, outraged by the way the stranger addresses His Majesty. Instead of answering, Demiurge simply snaps his fingers. The heads of several guards closest to him explode at the same moment. He asks the others, "Are there still dissatisfied people? Maybe someone wants to express their opinion in order to share the sad fate with their recently deceased comrades." The guards understand that they are dealing with a fairly strong enemy, who alone reached the throne room. Hearing only quiet conversations in response, the main character understands that there was no one willing to object to him. He rises up, and giant demonic wings sprout from his back. In a split second, he made his way through the guards and got close to the king. Well, he cleared up the confusion. Now we can continue the conversation. The king, in horror, asks the guy what he wants here. Money? Glory? He is ready to give him everything he can. A typical aristocrat always offers what he has in abundance. But no, the main character does not need money or fame, he demands to give him the kingdom. The old man objects, saying that this is impossible. Demiurge says that if the old man doesn't want to, he will kill him anyway. If he and his entire family are destroyed, then the kingdom will belong to him in any case. Hearing the mention of his family, the king thinks that the intruder wants to take his daughter. A daughter? He doesn't need her. In fact, he didn't even know she existed until the old man said so. But the king doesn't seem to hear him and says loudly that April is the pride of the continent, the flower of their state. Demiurge again repeats to the king that he does not need his daughter. He demands to give up the kingdom. The king asks the main character, why does he want what does not belong to him? What? Does this old man really want to say that this is all his? Of course, because the kingdom belongs to the royal family and he is a direct part of it. Very interesting, since when did the kingdom belong to him? Maybe he will also say that this world was his from the day it was created. In the end, he also stole someone's power, and the one who came before him did the same, and so on in a circle. Now the moment has simply come when someone else will take the throne. The king asks the protagonist if he thinks the saints will approve of this. Haha, saints. Who cares anyway? For the main character, these saints sound like nothing more than a joke. And he does not take them seriously, and in order to clearly show this, he will show his strength in all its glory and power. We have a view of the castle from the street, from within which a powerful explosion is heard, blowing the upper floors of the castle to smithereens. Everyone who is close to the epicenter of the explosion turns into scorched statues, with frozen grimaces of horror. Demiurge looks around and is not surprised by the instant death of all the guards who were in the throne room. However, he is surprised by the instantaneous death of the king. It seems that he had no blood. If there had really been blood, the old man would have lasted a couple of seconds longer. The main character looks into the heavens and turns to God. He is disappointed. Those who tried to stop him are completely unprepared and too weak. In response, he hears only deathly silence and the passing wind. He says that the awakening of pure blood will still have to wait. There are about 20 years left until the day of his true awakening. From his thoughts, the main character is distracted by a scream heard from behind. He turns and sees a beautiful young girl. With tears in her eyes, she asks the main character who he is, and really, who is our main character? Well, let's get to know him a little better. The demons who lost the first war descended into the underworld with the broken soul of the king and transferred it to a new body. For centuries, they fed the body with all kinds of spells in the hope of the resurrection of a new demon king. And then the time came for the second war. Thor demons believed that there was no hero left, so the lands of people would finally be in their hands. However, to their regret, a new hero appeared. This was not the same hero as before, but the determination in his eyes was the same, and the intention to stop the merciless army of demons did not disappear anywhere. The demons have lost again. They began to resurrect the king again. Then a new hero appeared. Then another 100 years passed, and the hero appeared again. And so on 665 times. This lasted 66,580 years. The story of a hero who comes to save the world is no longer new. In careless times, people believed that one day a hero would appear and save everyone. Meanwhile, in the underworld they hoped that the new hero would definitely be the last. And this time, with the new king, they would finally be able to conquer human lands. So they resurrected the 666th demon king, and this king's name was Demiurge, 666th. The curse of the entire human race opened its eyes on this very day. So unexpectedly for everyone, the new hope of the demon kingdom fled, renouncing the title of demon king. Demiurge did something that none of his predecessors had done in tens of thousands of years. If we return to the present, the girl asks Demiurge what he did to her father. He thinks to himself, what's wrong with her? Suddenly, he remembers the king, who shortly before his death mentioned his daughter, calling her the pride of the continent and the flower of the royal family. Looks like this is the same Princess April. He says that the king is dead, so it's time to take his daughter and take the throne. The girl is confused. She does not understand what is happening and what the main character means. He snaps his fingers. The girl's body begins to behave strangely, as if she is shaking in convulsions. The girl kneels down and, calling the main character her master, says that her worthless body now belongs to him. He jumps. He spreads his demonic wings and approaches April. Demiurge says that now she is his first person. In response, the girl thanks her master. He looks at her with a smirk on his face. However, noticing a few drops of tears, he turns his gaze away, and in a dissatisfied voice tells her to stop whining before he gouges out her eyes. April continues to cry, and the main character is attracted by a strange rift that has appeared in the middle of the throne room, from which a painfully familiar voice can be heard. The rift gradually widens, and we can see a person on the other side. Eventually, the rift opens completely, and a man with long hair, wearing a black suit and a hat comes out. Alex, the protagonist's devoted servant, says that he is glad to welcome him. Demiurge asks if Alex has really been following him all this time. That's right, he never leaves the main character a single step. So this is some kind of bullshit. Alex serves his father, not him. Alex replies that this body was passed on by the ancestors, and now Demiurge is none other than his master. Even if so, Demiurge doesn't care about it. He asks Alex to go to hell, and says that he is never going to return to the demon realm. Alex replies that if the main character wants it that way, then so be it. His task is not to convince the master, but to carry out his orders. He tells Demiurge to just continue to mind his own business, and he, if anything happens, is always ready to help with this. Demiurge asks Alex what other things he should be doing here. Alex points to April and asks, wasn't he planning to bestow his powerful seed on this beautiful woman? He has served him faithfully for 80 years. Alex asks the main character if he would like to hear about his sad story. When Demiurge was still just a baby, Alex had to change his body in order to breastfeed Demiurge. His own approach to teaching has made him an exemplary teacher. Oh yes, the main character remembers very well how Alex turned almost into a real tyrant and beat the crap out of him with a whip. He is also the only demon who surrounded the main character with care before being immersed in the awakening egg. Demiurge clearly does not remember these times with delight, because Alex chained him with restraint straps like some kind of madman and himself stuck him in that very egg of awakening. Alex doesn't seem to hear his master's dissatisfaction and talks about old times, as if just yesterday Demiurge was the size of a baby and was running around, and now he has grown so much that he is already interested in women. Demiurge is already quite tired of Alex's chatter, and he asks him not to talk nonsense. He is absolutely not interested in the title of Demon King. From this day on, he is an ordinary person. Alex replies that if the master wants it, then so be it. He is surprised by this answer and asks what Alex meant. Alex does not understand the main character, and in response asks in what way does he not understand what was said. Demiurge begins to get angry, and using force, he changes the shape of Alex's face and body beyond recognition, ordering him to explain why he is so indifferent. Alex asks for forgiveness and says that he will explain everything now. So the main character calms down and stops using force on Alex. First, he asks the main character why he chose this particular country. In response, Demiurge asks Alex why he is asking this. He assumes that the gentleman made his choice based on the wealth of the country, or because of personal dissatisfaction. You never know what reasons there may be. Demiurge replies that, in principle, he does not have any special reasons. He simply decided to become a king in the human world. Hearing this, Alex applauds. He admires the protagonist's resourcefulness. It is truly worthy of a demon king. As soon as he arrived on Earth, he immediately captured the entire kingdom, killed the king, and even got the princess. A truly evil plan. It couldn't be better for the demon king. Alex never ceases to admire his master. Neither an ordinary person, nor even a high-ranking demon like him, would have thought of such a thing. But Demiurge managed to do it, which means he rightfully deserves the title of Demon King. Since the Great Lord says that he is leaving the demon kingdom, all Alex can do is take his son and raise him to become a demon king. And 20 years later on this day, the son of Demiurge will become the new king, and Alex will force him to come down to Earth and enslave humanity. However, the main character perceives these words somewhat ambiguously. Then he turns his gaze to April. The sparkle of life disappeared in her eyes. Only a shell remained, humbly serving the Demiurge. Remembering that Alex said that he would have to make April pregnant so that she would give birth to his son, he falls into a stupor. A deathly silence hangs over the main character, April and Alex. A few seconds later, Demiurge laughs out loud. He says that he almost fell for Alex's trick, just a little more, and he would have become a father at 80. However, Alex's words not only made him laugh, but also angered him. and his look confirmed this. Alex very quickly realizes that his master is angry. He shoots a huge magic beam at Alex. The beam is so powerful that it pierces the walls of the castle and rushes into the distance, after which an explosion occurs. But it doesn't end there. The beam passes right through the mountain and then crashes into another, after which a second explosion occurs. Alex barely manages to dodge such a powerful blow. Just a moment was enough for the beam to destroy the top points of 2 mountains at once. "Have you decided to set me up, idiots?" the main character asks loudly and angrily. At this moment, Alex realizes that Demiurge is completely different. His demonic field is still growing, and he is already quite strong. The Demiurge is certainly different from his ancestors. Perhaps this time they will be able to win the never-ending war. Maybe they will succeed this time. Demiurge says that the king stands out too much, and Alex at first does not understand what he means. Demiurge suggests focusing on the hero. Well, to be more precise, on his henchman. A brilliant plan appears in the main character's head. He will be close to the hero, so he will receive due recognition, but will not stand out too much. No one will suspect that the hero's henchman is the Demon King. He will simply quietly row success behind the hero's back. The hero will work tirelessly, and he will enjoy the rays of glory. Alex doesn't understand how Demiurge is going to become the hero's assistant if without the Demon King there will be no hero. He asks the main character to come to his senses and not say stupid things, but Demiurge doesn't hear him at all, and, fired up with his idea, says that they will go look for the hero. Afterwards, Alex asks what to do with the princess. Demiurge replies that he should let Alex deal with her himself, but wait, isn't she an important person? Demiurge believes that this is all a bluff and does not want to focus his attention on it. Someone's voice is heard saying that Demiurge is behaving somehow strangely. His origin leaves much to be desired, and he does not shine with intelligence. But she still only needs his strength. A mysterious woman in golden clothes hopes that Demiurge will forgive her for borrowing his powers. The story continues. Sometime later, Demiurge and Alex get into the carriage and set off on a journey. Demiurge asks out loud where the hero is. Let him finally show up and fight the Demon King in a fierce battle. Oh, that's right. There is no more Demon King. Alex asks the main character why they need a carriage if they can just fly. It's somehow inconvenient. Demiurge explains to his comrade that he is an idiot for not understanding why they use the cart. Does he really want to show everyone that he is a demon? It is unlikely that humans have the ability to fly through the air, unlike demons. Very funny. And this is being said to Alex by the one who burned down the palace without hiding his abilities in any way. Demiurge doesn't particularly react to Alex's words. So what if there's fire? Nothing unusual. Alex decides not to continue the topic about abilities, but asks if Demiurge really wants to become the hero's henchman. Yes, and you don't have to have special blood for this. He will simply enjoy life and let the hero deal with the monsters. Alex respects the protagonist's decision, but also explains that even after becoming the hero's henchman, it will not be easy for him to reach the top of power. Demiurge says that there is no need to worry, because here is the previous Demon King and one of the great 7 of the demon realm. The hero can easily deal with the dragon. He then asks if there is a ranking system among the heroes. Yes, there is one. Something like a rank and B rank. Probably something like that. First up is D rank, Dragon Slayer. As the name suggests, it is capable of slaying dragons. The main character asks if this title can be obtained by killing a dragon. Alex answers in the negative. Now, dragons are neutral towards people and demons. Dragon attacks on villages are left somewhere in old fairy tales. It simply means that the holder of this rank is strong enough to kill. Next up is G rank, the Giant Killer. The one who has this rank slays giants. Next comes L rank, Lich Killer, the owner of which can kill a lich. The following ranks are listed in alphabetical order. After listening carefully, Demiurge asks Alex why the other ranks have such boring names. Alex replies that he doesn't know, that's what they decided. He didn't take part in naming the ranks in any way. The last rank is F rank. Such heroes are called suckers. If they were fruit, they would be the most rotten. Sounds interesting. Alex continues to explain the ranking system. The higher the rank, the more support from the nobility. You can even occupy an important post in the country. Those with the lowest rank are not only neglected, they are hated, and everyone hopes that they will disappear. The human world is very merciless, and perhaps in this regard it is somewhat similar to the demonic world. While ranks are an important element, there is something more important. flood, and the purer it is, the stronger you are. The first saviors of the world, 66,580 years ago, were a hero and a priestess. Their children, and their children's children, and all those who followed, continued the line of holy blood. The amount of blood in families is carefully measured. The purer the blood in the family, the stronger the aura. The person with the purest blood becomes a hero, fights the Demon King, and wins. In any case, this has already happened 665 times. The main character asks if he understood correctly that if you evaluate exclusively the purity of blood, those with the purest receive the highest ranks. Alex says that there is an exception, but usually the purity of blood is proportional to strength. Alex says that people who have to do with ranks and everything connected with them put their lives and honor on the line. Even so, the main character doesn't care at all about it. Eventually, there will be a fight between the hero and the Demon King. Just because of this phrase, the confrontation has been going on for more than 60,000 years, and the demons lose every time. Alex replies that that was the promise. Demiurge doesn't understand this a bit. He wonders why he can't just live in peace. As calm and measured as this moving carriage. Suddenly something attracts Demiurge's attention. He gets up and points his finger at the flying creature and asks Alex what it is. Alex tries not to be distracted from the road for a second, but still turns around to understand what Demiurge is talking about. He replies that it is a butterfly, a small creature that flaps its wings and flies in nature. The main character looks at the butterfly with a surprised look, as if he had never seen something like this. Although he has never actually seen such creatures, he is only 80 years old, and all these years he was imprisoned in the awakening egg. Before this, the wind behaved calmly, but suddenly it intensifies. A stream of wind hits Demiurge's face, and the butterfly sitting on his finger flies away. He tries to reach the butterfly, which is slowly moving away from him every second, flying away in its own direction. Demiurge asks what just ruined his hair? Alex says it's the wind. And what is that hovering above his head? Something bright, something very bright. This mysterious circle that the main character is looking at makes his eyes hurt. Alex looks up at the sky and says, "It's the sun." Okay, but what is that sweet smell? It's the smell of flowers. Demiurge realizes that his servant knows much more, and asks if he lived a long life. Yes, he was born after the First War, like all 7 dukes of the demon world. So he came here every 100 years. It must be great to visit this wonderful place every 100 years. Alex looks at the main character, as if at a small child who is just learning about the human world. Demiurge says that the past demon kings must have never experienced anything like this. All they longed for was victory in the war with people, and they did not even try to even look a little at the beauty of the world they were trying to enslave. If everything had gone according to plan, he would have remained underground for another 20 years and would have died at the hands of a hero. Fortunately, he did not suffer the same fate as his predecessors. He followed a different scenario, escaping before the time for awakening approached. Demiurge believes that the position of the Demon King should disappear, and asks Alex if he agrees with this. Alex's response is silence. Well, Demiurge understands that perhaps Alex has reasons for not answering this question. With these words, he lies down on a peculiar bed created from a haystack and says that he wants to take a nap. Demiurge asks Alex to wake him up when they reach their destination, and if he suddenly decides to send him back to the demon world, they will kill both of them. Alex answers the main character that he understood him. After this, their journey continues in silence. Demiurge falls asleep, and Alex continues to drive the cart, slowly driving along the well-trodden road, listening to the sounds of the surrounding nature. After some time, they reach their destination, and the cart stops. Alex wakes up Demiurge and says that they are there. They arrived at a small village called Zorix. It lives up to its description. There is not much active trading, and it is quite quiet. Life here is very measured, unlike big cities. Apparently, the main character is not yet fully awake. He tries to look at the village, but he barely manages to open his eyes, and saliva slowly flows from his open mouth. They get down on the cart and enter the village. Driving through small streets where residents live their own measured and leisurely lives, Demiurge asks, "What about the heroes? Are there any here?" Yes, there are only 2 families. One family is rank A, close to rank G, and the second is losers. After listening to Alex, the main character realizes that there seem to be no D-rank families in this small village. If each town had one D-rank hero, then the demon army would not even think about ascending to human lands and taking them over. Are heroes of this rank really so strong that they can intimidate even an army of demons? Alex replies that yes, they have enough power to strike fear into an army of demons. Suddenly, Demiurge's attention is attracted by the conversations of local residents, who say that a dragon has attacked the castle. Rumors have already spread among the residents of a small village about a mysterious dragon, because of whose flame half of the castle burned to the ground. The only thing they don't understand is how is it possible for a dragon to attack if they died out many years ago? The main character turns to Alex and asks how this is possible, because he said that dragons have long been neutral. However, if you believe the rumors that spread throughout the village, everything seems quite the opposite. Alex replies that he at least thought dragons were neutral towards humans and demons. The last time he was on the surface was 80 years ago, during which time a lot could have changed. Some people in the village decide that they need to quickly notify the saints so that they can deal with this problem by sending a D-rank hero there. Calling the main character my lord, Alex points to a small building and says that this is the best hotel in the area and offers to stay here. The main character doesn't seem to like this hotel very much, but he doesn't really have a choice. He'll have to stay here, and he also asks Alex to call him master. They walk inside and are greeted by a short old man with a slightly chubby face. Alex tells the old man that he wants to rent a penthouse. Otherwise, his master is very selective in terms of apartments. In his thoughts, the old man calls Alex and Demiurge hillbillies because of their unusual outfits. But he cannot tell them this to their face, and gently hints that penthouses are expensive entertainment. Alex silently takes out and opens a treasure chest from the Arkham Palace, which is perfect as payment. The old man immediately understands that these are special guests, and immediately calls his employees. 2 concierges run out from the adjacent corridor, one of whom trips and falls face down on the floor. The old man tells the fallen concierge to immediately show the guests of honor to their apartments. He rises from the floor and greets the guests. He introduces himself to Alex and Demiurge as Zeke, and says that he will immediately take their luggage and let them follow him. While they are not climbing the stairs, Zeke starts a conversation about a recent event. The village is quite noisy right now due to the dragon attack. Who would have thought that a dragon from legends would appear? But he assures the guests that there is no need to worry, because in their village, there is a family of rank A. Alex replies with a smile that this fact is very encouraging. Soon they reach the apartment. The concierge opens the doors, and the pride of their hotel, a luxurious penthouse, appears before us. Usually Zeke accompanied ordinary people to not the most expensive rooms, but this is his first time dealing with such noble people, and he doesn't know if he can please them. But he says that he will try his best, and if anything happens, they can contact him at any time. Suddenly, the main character calls out to the guy. He asks if he understands correctly that Zeke has blood. The guy looks at Demiurge with uncomprehending eyes. But Demiurge seems to understand everything, which is why this guy seems different to him. For a blood carrier, he is in bad shape, and even works here. It turns out that he is from the second family of heroes in the village, the one with a lower rank. Surely in their family for a whole generation the purity of blood is below ground level, but the situation with the guy is somehow different, even though he is from a not very successful family. So he asks how pure his blood is. Zeke replies that he is unfortunately only an F-rank hero. Suddenly there is an explosion behind him. He turns around in horror and tries to understand what happened. In the blink of an eye, the roof of the penthouse almost burns to the ground. Everything is engulfed in flames, and above is a huge dragon head with a mouth lined with sharp fangs. People are running in horror from a huge monster spewing flames. Zeke turns to the guests and says that they need to quickly run away before the dragon deals with them too. Demiurge points out the discrepancy in Alex's words, for he said that dragons should not be feared. But right now, however, this dragon is clearly not friendly. Alex explains that he said he wasn't sure, and too much time had passed. A second later, the main character tells him that everything is fine. Demiurge offers Zeke a deal. He will become his assistant, and Zeke himself will become a hero. Moreover, he was still looking for a hero. So this was probably fate. He asks Zeke to accept the offer and promises to give him fame and wealth that his ancestors never dreamed of. Finally, he will cease to be the dregs of society and will know the taste of a glorious life. So what will he choose? To live the rest of his days branded as trash, or to follow the Demiurge and change his destiny? Such a chance comes only once in a lifetime. Demiurge is very interested in what the young man will choose. Memories flash through Zeke's head. Those around him treated him and his entire family with contempt and did not understand why such families even give birth to children. Most hoped that such families would soon simply die of hunger, and the human land would be cleared of such losers. He falls to his knees and says that he is ready to accept Demiurge's offer. He is tired of enduring the eternal bullying from the public. He has lived a rather difficult life, and finally, thanks to a mysterious stranger, he has a chance to change his future fate. Zeke promises to try his best to live up to the protagonist's expectations. He says that he is even ready to give his soul if Demiurge wants it. But this is very good, because Demiurge will just need Zeke's soul. Well, since the young man accepted the offer, their time has come. Or rather, it's time to hunt the dragon. Zeke doesn't understand. Shouldn't they have started with goblins? Why start with a huge toothy creature that may not be the strongest, but certainly not a weak creature? Since the young man agreed to give him his soul, the main character offers to conclude a contract. Without going into details, the Demiurge has absolute authority in the contract. He makes all decisions, including the distribution of fame and wealth, and Zeke undertakes to obey the Demiurge in everything, and he also has no right to disagree with the above conditions. The guy can only give his name if he agrees. Then the terms of the contract will be approved. Zeke carefully reads the contract and realizes that it turns out to be unfair. However, there are two things that attract him to this contract: fame and wealth. In his entire life, he has not had either of these two things, and now he has a chance to get both, so he gives his name to the main character. Well, Demiurge did what he wanted, and now that Zeke is officially a hero, it's time for him to make his debut. And to do so, he needs to slay the dragon. Alex explains to Demiurge that people are not that strong, and it is not so easy for them to defeat the dragon. That's right. Demiurge knows about this, and that's why he has a plan. Zeke will just pretend to kill the dragon. They will take care of the most important things. First, Alex will have a friendly conversation with the dragon. You know, the usual friendly conversation: beat the dragon as hard as possible until you lose your pulse. And then, once Alex has dealt with the dragon and pushed it down, it's time to bring Zeke to the main stage. He will start waving his sword in front of the falling dragon, and everyone will think that he defeated the monster. The crowd will immediately begin to praise him as a hero who has come to their aid, and Demiurge and Alex will remain behind the scenes, not attracting everyone's attention. Sure, the main character came up with a great plan, but Alex has some doubts. Since he knows people relatively well, he understands that they will not believe that an F rank just killed a huge dragon like that. And won't Demiurge stand out if he starts following the hero everywhere? Demiurge listens to Alex and realizes that he needs to come up with something. Then he turns to Zeke with a smile like he has a great idea. He approaches the guy and rips off his work clothes. Then he goes to the table and grabs an iron pan. Like Superman, he shoots lasers from his eyes, making holes in the pan. A moment later, he puts the pan on the guy. In less than a minute, he manages to create a unique image of the hero. Instead of a mask, there is a saucepan with holes, and on the back is a cloak made from a work uniform. The hero must wear a cloak. Now no one will notice anything. Everyone will be delighted by the sudden appearance of a mysterious hero. Realizing that the main character has managed to disguise the guy, Alex says that he will take care of the dragon. Alex jumps out into the street from the penthouse, and Demiurge turns to the guy. He still doesn't understand if he really needs to fight the dragon. The main character thinks about the guy's words for a few moments, and then his gaze moves to an oblong-shaped wooden object. He kicks this object towards Zeke, telling him to take the sacred sword. Barely keeping up with the fast movements of the main character, Zeke still manages to grab this strange object, and this object turns out to be a mop, a very ordinary mop. Demiurge tells the guy that he just needs to stand with a sword or a mop in his hands in front of the dragon. If he succeeds, he will receive fame and fortune. Zeke had a strange feeling that he still couldn't understand. Suddenly, he grabbed the mop, as if he was going to destroy everything in his path. He was attacked by a frantic desire for success. Perhaps it has something to do with his blood. Something awakened the heroic inclinations in Zeke's blood. The blood of the heroes was eager to tear the Demon King into pieces in every possible way. But Zeke himself understood absolutely nothing. Just as he did not know that the King of Demons was standing in front of him. He decides that this strange feeling in his body is caused by the confidence that Demiurge instills in him. Like Demiurge's loyal and obedient dog, Zeke runs outside, following his master's orders. Meanwhile, the dragon continues to sweep over the village. Everything is on fire. People are terrified and do not know where to run from the huge monster. Its deafening roar can be heard throughout the area and instills primeval horror in people. The dragon strikes its first blow. Gradually, he moves away from the village. Then, he turns around and goes into a second circle to splash fire on the village. And at that very moment, a portal opens. Alex jumps out of this portal and lands on a wooden cross, apparently located on top of the village church. He watches the monster closely, waiting for the right moment to make a move. The dragon notices the human figure and goes into a rage, opening a huge toothy mouth and preparing to splash out a stream of flame. Undoubtedly, the dragon is a strong opponent. But Alex also has an ace up his sleeve. A little more than a dozen long arms appear behind his back, and these hands are clearly not human. Alex has perfect control over the movement of each hand. He jumps up, heading straight for the dragon. He lands on the dragon's back. Now it's his turn to deal with the huge monster. And demonic hands will undoubtedly help him in this. He hits the dragon's back with each hand as hard as he can, trying to break through its strong armor. Fortunately, the demonic hands manage to penetrate the strong armor, and having broken through it, they gradually make their way to the heart. Demonic hands reach the dragon's heart and clasp it from all sides. Now Alex has acquired the heart of the dragon, and from now on, he must obey him. However, now he does not want to kill him. He is still haunted by the fact that a dragon attacked the village, something he could not even imagine when he was last on Earth 80 years ago. He asks the dragon why he came. Didn't they come to a peace agreement with the people? Suddenly, he notices something that greatly surprises him. Strange one-eyed purple creatures crawl out of the dragon's back. The dragon begins to say something in a language unknown to us. However, Alex seems to know this language and is very surprised that the dragon knows it. From this, he understands that something has clearly gone wrong. The dragon continues to approach the village. The scene changes, and we are transported to a small square. By order of his master, Zeke goes outside. He tries to look confident, but drops of sweat are running down his body, and he himself is barely noticeable, but trembling with fear. Suddenly, he hears someone's voice. He turns around and sees surprised people who hid in their houses from a huge monster. They look at Zeke and don't understand why he's not hiding. Is he crazy? Hearing the conversations, other residents open their windows and also look in surprise at Zeke, who is standing on the street in the middle of the chaos. Some of them wonder if this guy is going to fight off the dragon alone. Is this really a hero? However, they consider him somehow abnormal, because it is difficult to imagine that someone with a saucepan on his head and wearing only shorts would be a hero. Zeke hears all these conversations and grabs his head, fear mixed with shame, calling Zeke a masked hero. The main character shouts to the entire street for him to save them and deal with the fire monster. Hearing someone call a guy a hero, the locals immediately start rejoicing, thinking he's come to their rescue. Confidence is instilled in him again. Such a chance comes only once in a lifetime, and he does not intend to miss it for anything. Fame and wealth are what give him the incentive not to give up. Since childhood, he has endured constant bullying because of his family's origins. But now, everything will change. We return to Alex and the dragon. The dragon growls, but it is not clear whether from rage or pain. It continues to fly over the village, but does not strike it. Alex understands that he is in a difficult situation, and dealing with the dragon will not be as easy as he initially thought, but unfortunately, there is nothing to do. He needs to somehow solve the problem. He concentrates, and 100 demonic arms appear from his back. In the twinkling of an eye, they cover the entire body of the dragon. The dragon continues to roar, but it no longer sounds so menacing and deafening, as if something is taking away his strength. Alex says that there is just a little bit left, and he will sort out the problem. He directs all demonic hands into the very depths of the dragon's body and pierces the heart. The dragon lets out a heartbreaking roar from the frantic pain that pierces its body. Alex decides that he has finally dealt with the dragon, but the thought that something is wrong still cannot leave his head. He is not finished yet. Suddenly, mysterious purple one-eyed creatures that appeared on the dragon's body, like parasites, attack Alex. Alex hears the dragon telling him to get ready. The huge creature says that it actually saw someone who was thought dead come back to life. After these words, the violet glow disappears from his eyes, but it looks more like life is leaving him. The purple creatures continue to pounce on Alex, trying in every possible way to bind his body. Alex realizes that the situation is much worse than it initially seemed. He may have dealt with the dragon, But it doesn't end there. Meanwhile, the main character, who is in the village square and still cannot understand why Alex is trying to destroy the dragon for so long. The crowd is already waiting for the mysterious hero to defeat the dragon. He sits waiting and thinks to himself, what is his servant doing? Is it really that difficult to destroy a dragon? Alex is one of the great demonic seven, and he is clearly able to defeat such a creature. The dragon begins to fall. Demiurge addresses Zeke. He says that it is time to get ready because the dragon is already flying here. Zeke must make sure that he starts swinging the mop at the exact moment the dragon gets close. The dragon continues to fall. He turns to his master. Even though he has gained confidence, he is still afraid of the huge monster and says that he does not want to die. In response, the main character laughs at these words. Demiurge is never going to let the guy die. And putting his honor on the line, he swears that he will never die. These words again instill confidence in Zeke. Heroic blood begins to boil in his veins, wanting to destroy the Demon King. Zeke clutches the mop tighter and thinks to himself that he will definitely succeed. He takes a fighting stance and prepares for the upcoming blow to the dragon. Meanwhile, we return to Alex and the falling dragon. The mysterious creature still doesn't lag behind Alex and jumps on his face. Alex's eye begins to glow purple, and he screams at the top of his voice. It seems this creature is causing him pain, and he decides to get rid of the parasite with the help of demonic hands. The purple creature notices this, and at the same instant, the same eyes as those of that creature appear on several of Alex's demonic hands. It takes control of part of the demonic arms, entering into a duel with Alex. Dealing with the dragon was not so difficult for him, but dealing with the annoying parasite was much more difficult. He tries to figure out how to get rid of the creature, and then turns his gaze to the ground. The dragon is gradually descending, and there is not much time left before the fall. To deal with the purple creature, Alex summons 100 demonic hands. He uses the 1,000 light strikes spell, and overnight, most of the infected hands are destroyed. However, some demonic arms still remain under the creature's control. The parasite itself, located on Alex's face, is not going to go anywhere. Alex tries to remove the creature from his face, but even his demonic strength is not enough to do this. The creature seems to have a death grip on him, not wanting to let go. Meanwhile, the main character watches the falling dragon and notices that it is somehow slowly approaching the earth. However, even this speed is too fast, and to prevent Zeke from inadvertently turning into a puddle of blood mixed with bones, Demiurge decides that he needs to slow down the dragon a little. Alex tries his best to get the annoying creature off of him. A purple glow continues to emanate from his eye. There are only a few seconds left before the dragon falls. People notice how the dragon is approaching the earth, and in panic, they try to run away so as not to die from the blow. Some villagers can't stop watching Zeke. The dragon is already very close, but Zeke does not allow fear to take over him. All this time, the main character was sitting calmly on the cart, watching the event taking place, but suddenly he jumps off. He looks at Alex and cannot understand what he is doing there. The dragon must be slowed down immediately, otherwise the whole plan will fail. Suddenly, he notices something that surprises him. He sees Alex struggling not with a dragon, but with a purple parasite, and even dozens of demonic arms cannot resist the creature. A few more seconds, and the dragon will fall to the ground. Zeke promises himself that no matter what happens, no matter how scared he is, he will not budge. No matter how strong the enemy is, he will finish him off with one blow. We are transported into Zeke's memories. He stands in the middle of a green clearing, and his father teaches him a technique called moonlight. This martial art was passed down in their family from generation to generation. And until their world is invaded by the king of demons, Zeke, as the future protector of the family, is obliged to learn this technique. Zeke is worried about something. The children in the courtyard say that their family will never defeat the Demon King. His father tells him not to pay attention to the meaningless conversations. No matter what anyone says, sacred heroic blood flows in their veins. And Zeke, as the owner of such blood, will become a great hero and defeat the king of demons. However, simply having blood alone is not enough to reach heights. The father tells his son to train and study harder. Only this way he can prove to everyone that he rightfully deserves to have heroic blood. Zeke thanks his father for his advice and promises that he will try his best to reach the top. These memories do not bring him joy. He remembers them with tears in his eyes, but the desire to surpass his limits and prove that he deserves more gives him the incentive not to give up. And with these thoughts, he prepares to strike with the technique that his father taught him. The main character realizes that the situation is getting out of control. And in order for everything to go according to plan, he uses a spell called Execution. Zeke strikes the dragon with all his strength and determination. The guy delivers a precise, vertical blow to the huge monster. The dragon's head flies off to the side, and at the place where Zeke made the blow, blue liquid spills. During the attack on the dragons, several houses were significantly damaged. Zeke can't open his eyes for a while because of the blue liquid that has covered his entire face. Soon he opens his eyes. Examining his body, he realizes that he is covered in dragon blood. He then turns around to assess his surroundings. Almost everything near him was covered in blue dragon blood. He is distracted by hearing someone's voice. People climb out of windows and praise the new hero who risked his life to save them. However, such an unexpectedly large amount of attention is unusual for the guy, and he almost loses consciousness. Demiurge coughs slightly to get Zeke's attention. He tells the masked hero to quickly change clothes and hide. Zeke replies that he will immediately fulfill the protagonist's request. After that, he runs away from the battlefield. Alex stands on the same wooden cross he landed on shortly before the fight with the dragon, and watches Zeke run away. Part of his face is covered with strange black paint, with strange runes. It is not yet clear whether this had any effect on Alex himself, but one thing is clear for sure. It was due to that purple parasite. Then he looks in a different direction. Alex draws attention to the dragon's head lying nearby. He still can't get the words of the dead-winged creature out of his head. The one who was considered dead has returned to life. What did the dragon want to tell him with this? What was the meaning in these words? Alas, for now we can only guess. The story continues the next day. The main character wakes up happy and well-rested. Alex comes into his room, and seeing that Demiurge has woken up, asks him to take a sip of a fresh drink. Since he heard that people usually start their day with a cup of coffee, he decides to bring fresh coffee to Demiurge. Alex and Demiurge are distracted by Zeke, who suddenly runs into the room and says that they have problems. The entire village has already come out in search of the masked hero. The people want to make him their hero. This is, of course, interesting. But the main character is interested in something else. What is this strange outfit on the guy's body? Zeke smiles and says that because of yesterday's incident, the entire village was destroyed, so he is helping to restore order. That's why he wears those clothes. By the way, they pay well for such work. Well, okay. Everything is going according to plan, and Demiurge really likes it. He takes a sip of hot and aromatic coffee, and then turns in the other direction. His morning can be said to be atmospheric. The awakening rays of the sun illuminate everything around him, and the tart morning coffee invigorates him. And he sees the rays of the sun for only one reason. An entire wall of the penthouse was destroyed yesterday, so he got a kind of large window. And by the way, the coffee that Alex brought him was made from the tongue and eyeball of a dragon, and Demiurge really liked the unusual taste of the drink. Meanwhile, the people below are working tirelessly to rebuild the destroyed village. Most people clear away rubble and haul materials to rebuild the village, while some bring bread and water so others can eat and continue working. Zeke, like most men in the village, was no exception. They put a kind of wooden basket on his back, into which heavy stones were loaded. As soon as the basket is full, the man in red orders the guy to work faster, because there is still a lot of work. Demiurge watches closely as the residents work hard to restore this remote village. Zeke also works, even though he has received the formal title of hero, although he has not yet revealed his identity. Alex says that the guy told him yesterday that he has been doing strange work since childhood. He was born into a poor family, constantly doing laundry, cleaning, and digging graves. It's probably easier to name what he didn't do in his difficult life. He even managed to earn extra money in a provincial bar, all in order to somehow survive. Okay, it's decided, says Demiurge. They have already found a hero, and driving around the area will be tiring. The main character decides that he and Alex will settle in the village. She is small and inconspicuous, but Demiurge likes her. This is where his human life will begin. Alex turns towards the main character. Demiurge gets up and tells Alex to follow him, while Zeke continues to work to rebuild the village. Alex looks at his master in bewilderment and asks where he is going to go. Well, of course he goes to the dragon. They need to sell dragon skin because it's used to make equipment, so it's quite expensive. Having a lot of money will help them reach the top of power. Alex says that Demiurge came up with a wonderful idea. But there is one big caveat. Yesterday, the Hero Bureau took away everything that was left of the dragon. Alex explains that the corpse of a dragon is a serious thing, so ordinary people cannot take it. Demiurge is outraged and shocked by this news. Did they really just kill the dragon and end up with nothing? Demiurge asks Alex to come closer and says that they are going somewhere now. Alex, with a slight trembling in his body, asks Demiurge where he is going to go. Of course, he wants to smash the Heroes Bureau into pieces, because they so vilely dared to deprive him of his loot. Demiurge is seized by the desire to take revenge on those who took the dragon, and he is ready to do anything to achieve this. But Alex, as a rationally thinking demon, tries to dissuade him. The Bureau is the base of all heroes. Demiurge is undoubtedly strong, but even he is dangerous to go against all the heroes alone. Maybe individually he would have made amends with them, but there were clearly no weaklings gathered there. And if they found out that the Demon King had escaped from the underworld, they would end. Alex asks the main character if he wasn't going to side with the heroes. Demiurge replies that yes, he was going to. But so what? Alex understands his master's desire to destroy the Bureau, but explains to him that in the human world, you must first register with this very Bureau. If there is no Bureau, then Zeke will cease to be a hero. Demiurge turns to Alex and perceives this information with obvious dissatisfaction. But still, the words of his subordinate force the protagonist to cool his ardor a little. And he thinks about his further decision, and Alex at this moment asks himself, has he really just stopped the destruction of the entire demonic race? Well, since they can't destroy the Hero Bureau, they'll go somewhere else. Alex looks at Demiurge in surprise and asks where they will go. If you cannot harm your own country, then you can compensate for losses at the expense of a neighboring country. Alex slightly does not understand the main character because he thought that he was now a man. Demiurge replies that he will become the man of tomorrow, and even more so, the time has come to move forward. They get into the cart and leave the village. Alex speaks to his master for the first time, and in response, he hears silence. Then he turns to him a second time, but in response, he also hears silence. For the third time, Alex is already shouting at Demiurge, so that he finally turns his attention. And it works. Demiurge indignantly asks his subordinate what he needed, since he decided to disturb him. Alex says that Demiurge probably enjoyed the human world to his heart's content. Maybe it's time for them to return to the underworld. The entire kingdom awaits his return. There are 20 years left until the fateful day. They cannot waste time. Demiurge must learn demonic martial arts as soon as possible. Demiurge replies that he doesn't care at all. He is not going to do anything just because the underworld wants it that way. One day a demon king will appear and attack the human world is such a familiar phrase describing the world over the past 60,000 years that no one would have thought that anything could go wrong. Demiurge asks if everything were so easy, then why is God needed? It's time for Alex to just accept that there is no more demon king. Even so, Alex is not going to just back down. He tells Demiurge to have a child with anyone, and then he will raise him as the 666th king. Demiurge is confused. Does Alex even know how old he is? It's a bit early for a child. Be that as it may, Alex will not return to the underworld without an heir. Demiurge says that then Alex will have to serve him for eternity, since he simply cannot return to the underworld. Alex asks the main character if he can find a suitable wife for the former demon king himself. Demiurge calmly replies that if Alex talks about women again, he will smash the kingdom of demons into pieces. After this, Alex realizes that it is not so easy to start a conversation with Demiurge about his heir, so he decides not to talk about it for now. Suddenly he hears Demiurge, who asks, "Will this really work?" Alex asks what is he talking about. Demiurge replies that he is talking about that princess. Alex asks which princess he's talking about. Demiurge tries to answer, but he can only make sounds like, well, and so on. Alex listens carefully to the gentleman to understand what he is trying to tell him. He suddenly stands up and emotionally tells Alex that he wanted to ask if humans could get pregnant by a demon. Alex is slightly surprised by such a sudden question, but then calmly answers that, yes, people can get pregnant from a demon. In this regard, there are almost no differences between humans and demons. Next, Alex explains to the main character numerous terms related to sex education, which Demiurge listens to with his mouth open and perceives as inarticulate chatter. He stops Alex and says that he doesn't care much about sex education. Alex replies that he understands him and will not continue the conversation on this topic. If Demiurge really doesn't want to talk about this topic, Alex won't do it. But if suddenly the Demiurge really wants to make some woman pregnant, he must release a seed into her body. If he does this, then the chance of pregnancy will be 99%. If he suddenly does not want to do this, then with a passionate kiss, the woman will become pregnant with a 50% chance. With a regular kiss, this chance will be 25%. Demiurge is shocked that a woman can become pregnant from him if he just kisses her. Yes, this is more than possible. He can just hold hands. Even in this case, there is a small chance that the woman will become pregnant. The main character falls onto the straw bed with his eyes wide open and wonders what the hell kind of body he has. They almost picked up a lot of problems. This demonic body was created in order to produce offspring. The more details he learns about himself and everything connected with demons, the less he likes it all. Alex explains that Demiurge's body has these abilities because it is blessed. Demiurge, as the owner of this body, is the hope and salvation of the kingdom of demons. This may be true. But this body appears every 100 years, and this has already happened 665 times before the appearance of the main character. He doesn't like that there are so many expectations from him. Doesn't anyone really care about his own opinion? It's as if everyone has conspired and is blindly following one scenario, which is already more than 60,000 years old. Perhaps their trip would continue in silence. But this silence disappears at the same moment when they hear someone's woman scream. They turn and see a woman running away, and behind her, a squad of bandits is chasing her. A woman dressed in a golden outfit tries to run away from them, but they are approaching her closer and closer every second. She notices the main character and Alex in the distance and begs them to save her from the bandits. Alex turns to Demiurge and says that a beautiful lady is in trouble. Maybe they can help her. Demiurge asks, why would they suddenly help her? Alex replies that this woman might still be useful to them. Even if so, doesn't Alex find it suspicious? Surprised, Alex asks the main character what he means. This lady suddenly ran out to them, asking for help. This is the same stupid cliché that is constantly found in fairy tales about heroes and demons. There is nothing around, just a green clearing and a few large stones. So where did she and these mysterious bandits come from? Moreover, it's a bit far from the forest, so it's somehow very suspicious. But Demiurge is so alarmed, not even by this, but by something else. Demiurge looks at the girl running away from the bandits and asks Alex if he really thinks that these idiots didn't notice them while they were chasing her. Alex says that they both did not notice the approaching bandits. Then the main character asks if Alex really set up all this so that he could create a child with this lady. Who does Demiurge even take Alex for? He is the greatest strategist of the demon realm. Alex replies that he would not have committed such an obvious stupidity if he really wanted to do what the main character suspects. He would have come up with something more elegant and less suspicious. The girl runs up to the cart. She calls Demiurge a hero and asks him to save her from the pursuing mountain bandits. Demiurge replies that he is not a hero, but only an assistant. The girl falls silent for a moment, with a surprised expression on her face. But then she starts crying again, and calling Demiurge the hero's assistant. She again asks to help her. Demiurge explains that they are a high-ranking squad of dragon hunters, and they do not care about a small gang of mountain bandits. Very quietly, the girl asks why this guy is so harmful. However, the main character has good hearing, and he immediately asks the girl why she is calling names. Is she tired of living? She apologizes, and with tears in her eyes asks to help her, because she is absolutely defenseless against the mountain bandits. Demiurge was ready to yell at the girl in anger. But then, something unexpected happens. An axe flies into their cart. He immediately forgets about the girl and turns around, looking at the axe. Afterwards, he hears the voice of approaching mountain bandits. They mock the main character, and Alex, whose outfits look ridiculous to them. With angry faces, they tell the two guys to run away quickly if they don't want to become their victims. For their menacing appearance does not frighten Demiurge at all. Because they dared to break his cart, they will burn in hell. After these words, one of the bandits lights up with a purple flame. The remaining bandits stop and look at their comrade, who is struggling in agony, begging his allies to put out the fire. There is bewilderment on their faces. They just felt absolute superiority in the situation, but this feeling disappears very quickly. Demiurge says that no matter who he is, and no matter what magic he uses, the fire will not go anywhere, and the bandit himself will not die. He will burn for eternity. Demiurge then asks the others if anyone else would like to join this idiot and share his torment. The bandits run away in horror, leaving their ally to his fate. The girl exhales calmly, realizing that the bandits have finally escaped. Although he didn't plan it, he saved the girl, and now let her get out of here and not bother him. The girl immediately tries to attract the attention of Demiurge, saying that their temple was captured by other mountain bandits. The priestess was captured, and the relic was stolen. She begs the main character to help recapture their temple. Even so, he doesn't want to do these stupid quests. This answer from the protagonist angers the girl so much that she squeezes the wall of the cart to such an extent that cracks appear on it. But Demiurge does not notice this. He turns to Alex and says that it is time to leave. They have already spent enough time here. The girl does not give up trying to attract the attention of Demiurge. She asks if he is really the assistant to the very hero who slayed the dragon yesterday. Their temple is the pinnacle of dragons and their god. If they help drive away the bandits, the temple servants will generously reward them with a golden helmet. And this already sounds interesting for Demiurge. At least, there is at least some benefit to wasting his time. He decides that they will still follow the girl and get to the captured temple. Alex slowly climbs the steps and addresses the main character. He stands on his back and asks what he wants to ask. Alex is already pretty tired of getting up. And in addition, he is carrying Demiurge on his back, so he asks if they can just fly to the temple. Demiurge replies that this is hardly possible, since he is not the king of demons. Then Alex asks if he can climb on his back. Just a little more and his heels will fall off. Demiurge does not allow him to do this and orders him to move on. Alex is already drenched in sweat, but does not stop walking further. Besides the grueling climb up the mountain, something seems suspicious to him. This girl has been running to the top for half an hour, but she does it with such ease, as if it was an easy jog for her. Which is very strange, because even he, one of the great seven of the demonic kingdom, overcomes this mountain with special difficulty. Demiurge responds to Alex's suspicions by saying that he doesn't care who the girl is. Demiurge does not yet know her true intentions. But if she decides to lie to them, he will skin her without a twinge of conscience. However, there is something else that Demiurge cannot stop thinking about. She was talking about the golden god of dragons. Do dragons really have their own god too? Alex replies that it is more like demon worship. The golden dragon is at the head of all dragons. Demons. Dragons. And people, every creature has its own god. The creator of the world. Demiurge asks. It turns out that not only people have God. Alex replies that demons and dragons are just minor characters. But he asks the main character not to doubt one thing. In God there is truth, and unconditionally, love. If they capture Horson, blessed by God's light, they will lure the deity to their side. Demiurge listens to his subordinate and says that this is a rather strange way to show love to God. They are almost at the top of the mountain. A couple of seconds later, they finally reach the coveted peak. Alex falls from powerlessness, informing the main Demiurge that they are there. Demiurge walks down Alex's back, calling him a weakling, even though he himself hasn't taken a single step on his own to get to the top. But they still got to the place where the strange girl was leading them. He looks at the ancient temple and heads towards the entrance. And Alex, who is crawling up the steps due to lack of strength, hopes that Demiurge will help him while descending the mountain. They both approach the entrance, and Demiurge calls the priestess. He is very interested in where are the mountain bandits and the golden helmet. It would be better for her to tell everything right away while he is being kind. Despite his fatigue, Alex asks his master to be more careful because he feels that something is wrong here. Almost deceives him. They hear a strange sound behind them, turn around, and see the stone doors closing. Soon, the same girl who led them here appears. It becomes clear to us that this is the same mysterious person who met at the very beginning of the story. She notices one undoubted fact. Alex's instincts are well developed, since he was able to sense danger. Not seeing a single bandit, Demiurge asks the girl if she captured this temple. And by the way, where's that helmet she was talking about? The girl threateningly asks, how dare he treat her so disdainfully? Did he really not understand what was happening here? Before him is the goddess, ruler and mother of all dragons, the only golden dragon. Demiurge is slightly surprised, realizing that she is the same golden dragon that Alex was talking about. Alex felt that something was wrong even on the approach to the temple. But now he understands that their affairs are even worse. The girl asks the main character if he is surprised. Did she manage to exceed his worthless expectations? It would be better for him to beg for mercy, while she is generous. Goddess of dragons, you say? Says Demiurge. She asks if he now understands what situation he is in. If he wants to live, he must follow her orders. However, Demiurge doesn't even take her threat seriously, and anyway, he also wants a title as cool as hers. Demiurge always felt like there was something missing in his greeting. He turns to Alex and asks what he thinks about the nickname Dark Observer, Alpha Male from the top. Alex looks at Demiurge with shining eyes and says that he has never heard a cooler nickname. The Mother of Dragons reminds herself, because everything looks as if Demiurge and Alex forgot that she is still here. Fury begins to awaken in her eyes. She tells these two to stop talking nonsense and demands that they quickly ask for forgiveness and beg for mercy. Demiurge replies that this is nonsense because he has nothing to apologize for the Mother of Dragons has her own reasons to believe otherwise, because they were the ones who killed the dragon yesterday. She is the mother of all dragons, and they dared to destroy her child. Demiurge asks if the great Mother of Dragons is angry because of this little thing. She comes close to the main character, but he does not budge a meter. Did Demiurge really want to die if he said such a statement so simply? They are in the Golden Kingdom. Even if he were the Demiurge himself, he would not be able to cope with her. Alex ponders the girl's words and immediately realizes that the Golden Kingdom is the abode of the Golden Dragon, which he immediately informs the main character about. The Mother of Dragons admires how smart Demiurge's servant is and demands that Demiurge kneel before her. But the former Demon King is never ready to obey anyone's orders. Was she really willing to continue threatening him, even though she knew who he was? If she is the Golden Dragon, then he can simply unscrew her head and rip off all the skin from her body. After these words, the thought flashes through the Mother of Dragons' head. How can this worthless person dare to say such a thing? But first, the main character wants to avoid tearing her head off. Demiurge wants the Mother of Dragons to apologize for lying. The surprised girl looks at Demiurge and asks, what is he talking about? He suggests speaking frankly, so that they understand what will be discussed next. Demiurge explains that he came to this world not to create chaos, but only to become the hero's partner. So he went to the village. But one unpleasant situation occurred. Its small dragon himself burned the settlement. What could he do in the face of a threat to his life? That's right, to defend herself, but she didn't even deign to appear while her child was tearing apart the entire village. She tried to deceive him by pretending to be a priest. Does she really think that he will crawl on his knees, begging for mercy? Demiurge doesn't stop and asks if she thinks that dragons can do whatever they want. Alex agrees with the main character's reasoning. You cannot think that everything is permitted only because of power. He explains that anyone will fight for their own safety if they are threatened by something. It was the dragons who forgot about the peace agreement. If anyone should ask for forgiveness, it was their mother. Demiurge completely agrees with Alex's words and notices the fact that the girl didn't even apologize. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And it looks like she's no different from that crazed dragon that dared to burn down the village. In a very quiet voice, the girl says that she is not the Mother of Dragons. Alex asks if she is trying to avoid responsibility for what she has done with these words. So, she wants to be a goddess, but isn't ready to make the commitment? Demiurge says that people often blame children for terrible behavior. Alex continues and says that we can't close our eyes to this. She is the Mother of Dragons, so she is obliged to apologize to the villagers because it was her child who disturbed the peace. From such a huge stream of accusations, the girl's ears begin to bleed. She scratches her head in bewilderment and says that something is wrong here. Why is it all her fault? Demiurge says that she is the only one here who is to blame for everything. After that, they turn around, and Demiurge asks her to let them out of here. But the Mother of Dragons is trying to stop them. She asks if maybe they will listen to her, since they are already here. Demiurge replies that maybe he will be ready to dry her. But first, she must apologize. Demiurge also says that if she doesn't want to apologize, then he will get over it. They don't mean anything to him anyway. This manipulation works, and the dragon goddess again asks them to stop. She fulfills the request of the main character and asks for forgiveness. After that, he comes up to her and strokes her head, like some kind of pet. With a malicious smile that stretches almost to his ears, he says that he is not entirely satisfied. But since she asks so, he accepts her apology. She thinks to herself that this is somehow strange, but she needs to be more tolerant. Demiurge asks, what does she want? Without missing a beat, she gets to the point and asks to catch the dragon. Demiurge approaches her and asks if he understands correctly that the mother of all dragons wants him to capture and destroy her child. Does she think he's completely stupid? This is an obvious trap, and for this, he is ready to deprive her of her head right now. The mother of dragons defends herself from the blows and explains that everything is not like that at all. Demiurge is about to bite her head off, but Alex stops him, asking the mother of dragons if she wants to catch the dragon because of that purple parasite. He says that during the fight with the dragon, he saw how a purple creature was sitting in this very dragon. It seemed as if it had taken control of the dragon's mind. The girl replies that everything is so. Someone is opposed to people and interferes with dragons, and yesterday, the dragon just became their victim. They came together because many of them had lost children or loved ones to people. They, like dragons, must remain neutral in any case. But these guys are blinded by anger, use extremely powerful magic, and attack villages. With such monstrous acts, they want to start a war between dragons and people. The mother of dragons says that in order to prevent possible future disasters, they must be caught quickly. She does not want her defenseless children to be used for evil purposes against their own will. Demiurge replies that he understood her thought. She asks to catch them, but she doesn't want them to die ingloriously, right? They will die ingloriously, because they were overcome by strange parasites that control the mind. The mother of dragons replies that the main character understood her correctly. That's exactly what she wanted to say. Afterwards, he asks what she will give him in return. After all, he would be taking a risk trying to catch the dragons, and he should get something in return. The girl asks what Demiurge wants. He replies that he is ready to help her if she gives him 5 dragon scales. Everyone knows that weapons made from dragon scales are the best. For each of the 5 dragons, scales. By the way, dragon scales can be used to make not only weapons, but also equipment that can be sold for a very high price. She replies that it looks a lot like cheating. In response, the main character says that he doesn't care what she thinks about his words. He's serious in any case. A demonic pact appears before her. The gist is simple. The demiurge finds and delivers possessed dragons to her, and she agrees to reward him with dragon scales and weapons. If the terms are broken, the mother of dragons will become a slave of the demiurge. Demiurge says that the conditions will be approved as soon as she says her name. This is a contract with a demon, so if she decides to deceive him, it will cost her much more. The mother of dragons replies that she understands perfectly well what Demiurge is saying. She gives her name, and the terms of the contract are approved. Great. The contract has been concluded, and now Demiurge is obliged to fulfill his part of the deal. He tells her to finally open the gate to the outside world, so that he can deal with everything now. But it looks like there's something else she wants to say. The mother of dragons calls out to the main character to stop. In addition to the above conditions that were described in the contract, she asks for one favor. She asks to catch the dragons alive, because she will not survive several more deaths of her children. Demiurge smiles and says that he will undoubtedly fulfill her request. She is his client after all. Soon they leave the temple. Everything turned out even better than he initially expected. Suddenly, he stops and realizes that he forgot something. Demiurge turns around and runs towards the temple. He runs up to the entrance and calls out to the dragon goddess, but all he sees is the old temple, which has long been swallowed up by nature. There is a feeling that no one has been here for many centuries, if not millennia. He shouts that he forgot to pick up the golden helmet that she mentioned earlier. Alex explains to the main character that they can't just return to her kingdom. Demiurge again thinks that she deceived them. He promises himself that one day he will definitely leave her headless. And with these thoughts, he and Alex go down the mountain. The story continues when Alex and the main character reach the destroyed village. Demiurge tells Alex that he wants to start selling weapons. But why? Why did he decide to become an arms dealer? He abandoned the demon realm to sell weapons? Alex screams in anger and grabs Demiurge's shoulders as Zeke tries to calm the demon down. Demiurge asks if they really don't feel sorry for the little dragons. It's just business. Real dragon scales can make them a lot of money. Having such resources, he will definitely reach the top. Moreover, the goddess of dragons said that she would give him a lot of everything if he just caught from the dragons. A war between humans and demons breaks out every 100 years. So they definitely can't go wrong with the sale of weapons, and they will always have buyers. Alex grabs the main character by the shoulders and asks him to come to his senses. If there is no demon king, then there will be no war. Demiurge turns to Alex and asks if he really hasn't realized who he is yet. The sale of weapons is only an auxiliary means on the way to its true goal. He is not going to be a merchant all his life. No, he will become the one who will secretly control everything from the shadows and will own all the weapons in the world. Alex rejoices at these words because he understands that the master has not forgotten about the underworld. Zeke with him and find a suitable shop for their future business. Alex replies that he will immediately carry out the will of his master. Alex jumps down, and the main character, looking at him, wonders why he continues to do this. The answer immediately comes to his mind. Of course, he is doing this in order to eventually become a landowner, the greatest in the whole world. It's good that Alex is so trusting and blindly believes him. Demiurge is left alone with his thoughts and lies down on the bed. The last couple of days in the human world had been quite eventful for him. He remembers how he destroyed a castle of people, met a boy who was insecure, and how after that, Alex bravely fought a dragon, which was captured by an unknown parasite. The last thing he remembers is the words of the mother of dragons, who asked him to catch the dragons alive. He saved the stupid hero and found a way to earn extra money, so now he can relax. But what is this feeling? Thirst for bloodshed? He asks himself, will he feel better if he kills all the people in the village? Suddenly he hears someone's voice. Demiurge turns in the direction from which he heard the sound and tries to find the source of the voice, which tells him to destroy everyone and destroy the world. He seems to see a ghostly image of a demonic army, which unanimously says that the Demon King should make all people his slaves. After this, the earth appears in his head, engulfed in flames and inhabited by merciless demons who turn the earth into hell. It is when he enslaves people that he will end the series of rebirths that has been going on in the underground kingdom for 100 years. Demiurge perceives the words of the mysterious interlocutor as the ravings of a madman. He closes his eyes and decides not to think about what he just heard. He needs to get a good night's sleep. The story continues later that day as the sun approaches sunset. Alex leads the main character to a partially destroyed building and says that this is their new weapon shop. The owners died during the dragon's invasion, so he was able to buy the building inexpensively. Demiurge praises his subordinate for finding a suitable building. So quickly that he didn't even have time to sleep. Alex replies that when things are serious, he simply cannot sit still. For him, this can be said to be an unaffordable luxury. And Demiurge understands Alex perfectly, because he needs to carry out an important plan. Alex thinks the shop will be nice, but they need to give Zeke a few things to do to make their job easier. Demiurge asks if this young man can repair the building. Alex replies that yes, he used to be a master. Demiurge was quite surprised that Alex once told him about the guy's past. But now, he is even more surprised that Zeke, at such a young age, is already able to repair buildings. However, one thought haunts him. He asks Alex, isn't blood passed on from generation to generation? Can purebred people give birth to an F-ranked child? Alex replies that there are many examples of a saint and an F-ranked person having children. Hearing this, the main character understands that this is apparently an accident. But he still doesn't understand one thing. Can he count on those with a low rank? If the parents are rank F, will the child be the same? Alex says there is no clear answer to this question. Although it is a skill, the legacy is passed on. A family that often produces high-ranking warriors, or saints, will have great wealth. With this money, you can increase the level of the hero, or blood. So, if you are rank F, then it will not be so easy for your child to break through, even if he is not of that rank. Alex replies that Demiurge understood everything correctly. Zeke himself told him that he had an F rank. But despite this, he had already become a hero. Demiurge asks Alex if he knows what he is thinking about now. He just can't understand why demons are constantly being defeated by some pathetic heroes, whose strength is determined by inheritance. Although for some reason this fact infuriates him, he says that he doesn't want to talk about it. He still doesn't care about the demon world. And by the way, where did the hero go? They search for it briefly around the village and find it in a small shop called Hero Noodles. Zeke sees the protagonist approaching and happily greets him with a smile on his face. Demiurge approaches him and asks why he sells noodles. Zeke replies that he decided to try to do this since there was time, and he did not waste his time. He managed to make good money. Demiurge stands for a few seconds in confusion and then sits down on a kind of chair, which is a wooden barrel. He asks the guy to bring him a plate of noodles, and he replies that he will fill the order right away. Zeke starts preparing the noodles. First, he cooks long pasta, then chops various vegetables, and then pours aromatic and tasty broth over it all. A couple of minutes, and he gets fresh, hot and flavorful noodles. Demiurge looks in surprise at the plate with the mysterious dish from which steam is emanating, and asks himself, are these noodles? First, he carefully picks up the noodles with wooden chopsticks. Then, he brings the noodles to his mouth and sucks them inside. A few moments later, he swallows the noodles. To his surprise, he realizes that this strange food turns out to be very tasty. Alex sees how the main character expresses genuine joy, and also asks Zeke to bring him noodles to try. Is this dish really so tasty? He sucks on the noodles, and at the same moment feels an incredible taste that he has never felt in the last millennia. Demiurge says that the noodles are simply incredible, and Alex, out of indescribable delight, tells the guy to forget about the title of hero. Now he will be their personal chef, and will cook noodles for them every day. Zeke laughs a little and says he'll take it as a compliment. Demiurge and Alex ask for more. Zeke fulfills their request and silently looks at them for several seconds, while Alex and Demiurge are eating noodles at such an incredible speed as if they had been starving for the last few hundred years. Zeke turns to Demiurge. Zeke says he is grateful to him because he was able to buy school uniforms for his younger brothers. He was worried that they were going to military school without a uniform. They don't show it now, but they are actually very happy. Demiurge asks if they have similar schools. Yes, it may sound presumptuous, but he sent his brothers to a private warrior elementary school. Zeke says he may not be that strong, but he believes his brothers will become true warriors. Suddenly, the calm conversation is interrupted by someone shouting that there is a fly in the soup. Approaches Zeke and shouts that he tried his best to avoid this eatery. But today he was very hungry, so he decided to come in, and in the end, his good mood was instantly destroyed by one damn fly. The woman behind him says that she warned him not to come here. Zeke objects, because there can't be any flies in the soup, because he carefully watches how he prepares the noodles, for the man is not even going to listen to the guy in order to somehow resolve the confusion. Instead, he throws a plate of noodles right in his face. Demiurge notices how a small part of the noodles gets onto his clothes. The man aggressively asks if he understands correctly that the guy considers his words a complete lie. Does he even know who his father is? One word, and this diner will quickly be closed down, and Zeke will be in big trouble. Suddenly, he falls silent and looks at the guy in surprise. The man looks at Zeke for a few seconds and wonders if he's not from that holy family. He remembers what family Zeke is from and mocks him for deciding to make noodles. To further mock the guy, he mispronounces his last name in a way that makes it sound very offensive. Zeke politely asks the man not to throw such words into the wind, and reminds him that his family's last name is Muden. However, he doesn't really care what this guy's last name is. And what amuses him even more is that Zeke's father begged him to give him a job. And now he sees his worthless son, who sells some kind of slop on the street, and dares to call its noodles. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The main character loudly knocks on the table, breaking the wooden sticks and forcing the man to shut up. He says something. There's a lot of noise here. It looks like one fly standing on two legs is still buzzing. The man asks if he understands correctly that this stranger called him a fly. Is he so brave that he wants to die? The man's threats do not frighten Demiurge. For him, they are nothing more than an empty phrase. He stretches his hand forward, and the man and the woman look at him in bewilderment. It's time to swat a few bugs. Demiurge clenches his fist. The man rises into the air, and his limbs begin to twist in unnatural positions, breaking all his bones. The invisible force of the Demiurge squeezes the man like a sponge. Seeing this, the woman screams, experiencing primal horror. She turns and runs away from the noodle shop, asking for help. Oh, something went wrong. It looks like another fly has escaped punishment. Demiurge quickly captures the girl with demonic force and begins to twist both her and the man's limbs. Zeke was already shocked when the main character punished the man, but now he is even more shocked by watching what Demiurge is doing. The man's ungrateful act made him very angry. He says that people who don't respect heroes and risk their lives don't deserve to live. Alex silently watches as Demiurge carries out punishment on people, and is not going to stop him. Having dealt with the annoying insects, he turns around and, as if nothing had happened, continues to eat the noodles, and Zeke, like all the other visitors to the eatery, look at Demiurge with a shocked look. Demiurge does not pay attention to the surprised faces of the village citizens, and simply calmly eats the noodles. But suddenly, his meal is interrupted by a leaf that falls right onto his plate. He reads a note that says that dragons have appeared in the palace, and they need to leave quickly. Demiurge immediately gets up from the table, without even finishing his noodles. He tells Zeke to close the diner and quickly pack his things. It's time to fulfill the VIP order and earn a lot of money. The story continues late at night. Alex, the main character, and Zeke are rushing at full speed in the cart to complete the order. Alex turns his head and notices how Zeke is shaking slightly, although he tries not to show it. He asks the boy if he is worried. He answers with a smile that yes, there is such a thing. He's been working with goblins all his life, and now they have to fight a real dragon. Before meeting Demiurge and Alex, he had never even thought about this. Then he looks the other way. He looks at Demiurge, who is lying in the back of the cart. Zeke says that every time he sees them, he gains so much courage that he completely ceases to be afraid of the dragon. Although, to be honest, he does not rule out the fact that he will tremble in fear as soon as he sees this huge winged creature in person. Alex replies that even despite his slight tremors and self-doubt, he is in a good mood for the upcoming battle. Be that as it may, Demiurge chose him as his hero. On ordinary days, he can behave as he pleases, but during such adventures, he is the leader, so he must be brave. Zeke, with a trembling voice, replies that okay, he will be the leader. Alex says that the guy answers too timidly. As for a leader, after this, Zeke responds with full confidence that he will be the hero that they want him to be. There is a short distance left to the castle. The road becomes smoother. Alex warns everyone else that they are already close, and accelerates. The art travels at such speed that the wind currents almost blow away small Zeke, who is forced to cling to the cart with an almost death grip in order to stay on it. Soon he sees something that greatly surprises him. A truly incredible, but at the same time terrible picture appears before him. The entire castle is covered in ice, and a giant dragon rises above the huge structure. As expected, the dragon visited the castle for a reason. Like the previous one, with which our heroes fought, this one was captured by purple parasites. You can hear him growl, as if trying to get rid of the creatures, but alas, their control is much stronger than the will of the dragon. Zeke quickly realizes that the castle has already been captured, but he is interested in something else. What happened to the people? Demiurge asks the guy not to worry, and pointing his finger to the side, says that there are people there about whom he worries so much. Indeed, the crowd is not that far from them. As they continue to ride down on the cart, Alex says that there should be G-rank heroes in such a castle, and therefore they probably have nothing to fear. Zeke says he's glad to hear that. So the stage is set, the audience has gathered, and now it's time for Zeke to get ready for the show. Zeke turns around and asks the main character what he means, and for now we are transported directly to those people about whom Alex spoke. They are all in a rather sad situation. Because the situation is hopeless, some begin to pray, while others, not counting on the help of the gods, immediately make attempts to shelter the wounded from the monstrous cold that chills to the bones. Among the entire crowd, one guy prays the loudest, even cries at the same time. But it seems that not everyone likes this. The man asks out loud if God has forgotten about them. The guy standing next to him replies that he doesn't know about God, but the king really abandoned them. Suddenly, this guy notices a strange glow in the shape of a ball nearby, and even being at a not very close distance, he feels a slight warmth and sees steam emanating from this ball. An army is hiding under the barrier that the priest creates. At the head of the army is some fat guy whose cheeks look more like bowling balls. He asks where the heroes went that headed to the Songhuan fortress. He wants them to return to the castle immediately. The priest is afraid of the angry fat man and says that the heroes also seem to be caught in a snowstorm, and it is impossible to contact them. The angry man tells the priest to come up with something, or at this rate, he will go crazy. He is ready to almost tear the skin off the priest, but is distracted by hearing sounds behind him. Alex fearlessly drives the cart straight to the castle, and Zeke shouts that a hero has arrived to help. They go so fast they fly over a person. He peers at the cart that came from nowhere and asks himself, has a hero really arrived to them? However, seeing that Zeke is dressed only in shorts, he no longer perceives him as a hero and orders the guards to catch them. Alex doesn't take his eyes off the road for a second, even when he hears threats of persecution behind him. Due to the cart suddenly appearing, it knocks the priest off his feet, causing him to briefly lose control of the barrier. The fat man demands that the priest immediately activate his magic because he is cold. He asks, how dare these idiots jump over the emperor? For such an offense, he will only be glad if the dragon devours them. Meanwhile, while the fat man enjoys the warmth in the midst of the terrifying cold. The commoners have a much more difficult time. Suddenly, the little girl points her finger to the side and asks her mother what it is. The crowd watches the cart as it approaches the castle and sees a guy in it. People wonder if he's going to fight a dragon in just his underpants. Then, they take a closer look at the cart, and surprise appears on their faces. They can't believe their eyes, but it's true. That guy in the cart is a hero. Zeke tries to sit down, but the closer they get to the castle, the colder it gets. He tells Alex that not only is he uncomfortable because of the cold, but he is also terribly embarrassed. Alex responds by saying that he is doing a good job. These words give Zeke confidence, but as soon as they get almost close to the castle, a more terrifying picture opens before his eyes. Many people tried to escape as soon as the dragon appeared, but not everyone was able to do so, and those who were unlucky were frozen into ice statues. Suddenly he sees a strange light in the sky. The dragon's eye begins to glow red, and Alex tells the others that they are close. Demiurge tells Alex and Zeke to get ready. This time, the guy has the same task as last time. Alex will catch the dragon and then throw it down to the hero. Zeke, playing the role of the hero, will simply swing his sword a couple of times, and the job will be done. And besides this, he has a special request for Alex. He asks him not to make a mistake like last time. Alex tells Demiurge not to worry. Last time he had some difficulties with the dragon. At least, he was not prepared to meet the parasites. But this time, he will not get so close. Before Alex teleports away, Demiurge stops him to say one more thing. He reminds him of the request of the Mother of Dragons, and orders him to take the dragon alive. Alex agrees, and says that he will beat the dragon half to death, but will not destroy it. He then turns to Zeke. He says that the dragon is big, so it will be noisy, and asks the guy not to move and watch his fighting stance. After these words, he jumps into the portal, and Zeke asks what he meant by saying that it would be noisy. He is distracted by the main character, who asks him to stop the cart. He says he's going to take a nap and let Zeke, like a hero, go deal with the dragon. But it seems that Zeke is not entirely happy with this option. Hearing the huge monster growl menacingly, he asks Demiurge if he can go with him. Finding himself almost right in front of the dragon, Zeke begins to fear it, and therefore asks for help from someone who is clearly stronger. Meanwhile, the parasites calmly watch as the dragon they control prepares to destroy everything in its path. But suddenly they are distracted by looking up after hearing Alex's voice. He jumps out of the portal and rushes straight towards the dragon. Seeing an approaching threat, the parasites attack Alex. Dozens of tentacles are heading towards Alex, with the goal of tearing him into small pieces. But Alex manages not only to dodge numerous blows, but even destroys several tentacles on the way to the dragon. He gets to the dragon's head and delivers a series of crushing blows to the parasites. The dragon falls, and a deafening roar is heard. Zeke watches the scene, his body trembling. He is incredibly shocked to see Alex fight such a huge monster. Due to the rising smoke, Zeke cannot see anything, and therefore cannot understand what the current situation with the dragon is. He quickly realizes that he needs to find a place where Alex can definitely see him. Demiurge turns to Zeke and throws him a wooden shield, which he barely manages to catch. He asks if the guy really doesn't want to grab the sword and shout, "A hero is nowhere without a shield?" That's what his father did, but his son seems to have forgotten about this rule. To make Zeke's job easier, Demiurge decides to do something for him. He extends his finger forward, and after that the shield is covered with something dark. Zeke watches in surprise, as his wooden shield instantly becomes enveloped in a strange and incomprehensible energy. The main character explains that this is a protective barrier that can withstand even the breath of a dragon, so if anything happens, Zeke will be able to protect himself. Zeke closes his eyes, tears of happiness flowing from them. He thanks Demiurge for doing him such a great service. As soon as he opens his eyes, he sees the main character, who is already sleeping like a baby. Zeke mentally thanks Demiurge once again for the barrier on his shield, and heads towards the castle. This time he intends to cope, but he needs to hurry. Otherwise he will make Alex wait, which is undesirable in the current situation. While he is approaching the place where the roar of the fallen dragon was recently heard, he is simultaneously looking for a noticeable place, somewhere above, so that he can be easily noticed. His attention stops on a huge piece of ice, from the top of which he will be very easy to see. He changes direction and runs towards a peculiar ice mountain. But suddenly, something goes wrong. He slips and rolls down, almost hitting the ice. Meanwhile, the battle between the dragon and Alex does not stop for a second. We hear the parasites making incomprehensible sounds, similar to screams. Alex not only hits them with his hands, but also tramples them with his feet, as if expressing his disgust for these creatures. He aims straight at the parasite's eyes to inflict as much damage as possible. Hindi rapporteur Isai. Last time he did not expect to meet them, but now he knows what they are capable of, and in his gaze, one can read absolute confidence in the impending victory. It seems to him that he is almost done with the parasites. However, this is not so. The eye of one of the parasites opens wide. At the same second, the dragon throws him away with a powerful icy breath. The dragons slowly begin to move their wings. Soon he takes off and prepares to fly as far as possible. There is even more smoke, and it is unclear to us what happened to Alex. But Alex survives, his demonic hand breaking through the smoke, dispersing it. The hand quickly reaches the dragon, grabbing it by one of its fangs. The lower part of Alex's face is almost erased, and almost the same mysterious runes are visible on it as in the first fight with the dragon in the village. But to be honest, he doesn't care much. Now his only goal is to deal with the dragon. With the help of a demonic hand, he is attracted to the dragon, and with acceleration, he kicks him in the face. However, he does not intend to stop there. More demonic hands appear behind him. His eye begins to glow red, as if to indicate that anger is awakening within him. Alex delivers a numerous series of blows, and the dragon falls again, sending up even more snow dust into the air. This time, Alex manages to do much more damage. He admires how resilient the dragon is, probably due to its enormous size. The dragon opens its mouth and growls at Alex, as if trying to tell him something. Well, it's time to finish with the dragon. He's already spent a lot of time on it. The deafening sound is heard again, which Zeke hears and is amazed at how bravely Alex fights the dragon. Even here, being away from the battle, he is afraid to watch what is happening. But Alex does not experience the slightest drop of fear, fighting such a huge monster alone. Zeke asks you if Alex is a D-rank hunter. He turns his attention away from the battle and looks at the crowd behind him. The crowd praises the mysterious hero. Hope for salvation appears in their eyes. Smiles appear on their faces, for they see in the mysterious hero the one who will save them. Meanwhile, Fat Man bites his nails out of nervousness and asks himself, is this really a hero? Zeke hears everyone cheering for him. They shout that he can do it. He is their hope. However, in reality, the picture is completely different. He just stands and trembles with fear. The real hero is not he, but Alex. He is envious of watching Alex bravely fight the dragon, because he also wants to be a hero, wants to save people, and give them hope. He stops watching the battle when they hear someone's voice nearby. Istat sir. He turns around, but all he sees is a huge amount of ice and snow. But suddenly, he notices two people who are covered in ice, and one of them is still alive. The girl tearfully begs the hero to save them. Meanwhile, the battle between the dragon and Alex does not end. The dragon uses its tail and throws Alex away with a deft blow. Zeke turns around again to see what's going on. Alex barely has time to grab the ice to slow down his movement. Damn, it looks like he underestimated the enemy. It turns out that the dragon not only has huge dimensions, but also knows how to deliver a deft blow. The dragon rises to its paws and emits a heartbreaking roar. Half of his face is already completely consumed by parasites, and through the roar, Alex hears the dragon talking to him. This language is not similar to human, but Alex understands it perfectly, and from what he hears, he understands that the parasites will recover until their owner dies. Alex says out loud that this dragon is some kind of damn zombie. The dragon is preparing for a new blow. Alex says that since they cannot kill the dragon, there is only one way out. They will have to cut off all its limbs. The dragon concentrates power in its paws and prepares to jump. He jumps off the rock and flies at Alex at full speed. He continues to stand still, waiting for the approaching dragon. Alex knows the attack will be powerful, so he summons 100 demonic arms. Long arms instantly appear behind his back. The dragon is already very close. It opens its mouth to eat the demon. But Alex had one surprise in store for the dragon. In less than a second, hundreds of demonic hands combine into one huge hand. Alex clenches his huge hand into a fist. After this, a huge hand deals a crushing blow to the dragon. As expected, the simultaneous strike of hundreds of demonic hands that combined into one huge one turns out to be powerful. But Alex does not intend to stop there. He continues to strike again, as if beating the dragon with a hellish hammer. The dragon doesn't move, and Alex takes advantage of the moment when the creature weakens. He grabs him by the throat and lifts him into the air. The dragon opens its mouth, in which a shining blue ball appears. Alex watches the enemy. His instinct screams to him that now the dragon will deliver a very powerful blow, and so it happens. The dragon releases a huge jet of blue flame at Alex. The shockwave from the blow is so strong that it throws Zeke aside, who is not even in the epicenter of the battle. He falls on his back. Although the shockwave was not fatal to him, he still felt discomfort after landing on his back. At the last moment, Alex manages to cover himself with demonic hands, some of which turn into ice. He says it's time to finish off the dragon. He's already caused too many problems. The dragon begins to say something to Alex. Alex orders all demonic arms to reunite. The demonic hands unite again into one huge one, and then split into 3 medium ones. 2 hands grab the dragon's wings. Hands tear off the dragon's wings. The dragon screams from the frantic pain he feels. Alex notices the dragon's threat and does a backflip to avoid the strike. After this, he brings one of his hands into combat readiness. After waiting for the right moment, Alex unleashes a spell called Great Demonic Explosion on the dragon. A hail of blows beats the dragon mercilessly. The crowd continues to watch the fight with surprise on their faces. Zeke also watches as 3 huge demonic hands deal numerous blows to the dragon. However, he immediately remembers that now is not the time to be distracted. He must quickly save the people, who surprisingly are still alive. The woman asks for help in a barely audible voice, and Zeke replies not to worry, he will help them now. But as soon as he approaches the icy human statues, he feels a chilling cold. He looks at the people again, and surprise appears on his face. Zeke realizes that the man froze to death while trying to save the girl. Then he hears a baby crying. The woman, who is almost completely turned into a piece of ice, asks Zeke to save the child first. Zeke carefully hits the ice with the wooden part of the shovel to slowly separate it from the people's bodies. He asks the woman to wait a little longer. He needs time to remove the ice. He notices that Alex is already close, and for everything to go according to the original plan, he needs to speed up, quickly help these people, and then return to the place. Meanwhile, Alex notices that the ice crystal on the dragon's head begins to glow brightly. This light is also noticed by a man in the crowd. He yells at Zeke to move aside, because this is the light that destroyed their castle. The crystal on the dragon's head begins to glow even brighter. A powerful explosion occurs. Zeke realizes that the shockwave will overtake him within a few moments. At the very last moment, he manages to put his shield forward, taking a defensive position. Fortunately, he manages to survive. But the shockwave turns out to be so strong that it shatters the wooden shield that was under the protagonist's barrier spell. People watch in horror as what destroyed their castle is repeated. The explosion is so powerful and bright that people have to turn away to avoid being blinded. Even the fat man, who watches the end of the battle from afar, feels the cold. Soon the light from the explosion disappears, and we see a dragon without wings. Alex says it's just like last time. Almost all of Alex's body is covered with unknown symbols. He says that it is becoming difficult for him to maintain the condition of this skin, which he takes for war after 20 years. This makes him very tired. After the explosion, Zeke falls down and cannot move for some time. He slowly opens his eyes and realizes that he is alive. And it is probably thanks to the magic on the shield. Suddenly, he remembers that he promised to save the child. He looks around and hears a child crying nearby. A terrifying picture appears before his eyes. Fortunately, the child survives, but her mother dies, and even after death, having turned into a piece of ice, she never ceases to protect her child. Zeke realizes that he needs to quickly rush to the child's aid. He tries to get up, but for some reason he falls. Zeke turns around to see why he can't get up. To his horror, he discovers that 2 of his legs and left arm have turned to ice, and literally split off from his body. Meanwhile, the crystal on the dragon's head begins to glow brightly again. People realize with horror that the nightmare they have already seen twice is returning again. The man yells at Zeke to quickly run away. However, he does not hear the screams of the crowd. Even despite the monstrous pain and the loss of almost all limbs, he tells himself that he is obliged to save the defenseless child. Even if he cannot save everyone, like other heroes who have enormous powers, he wants to save at least one person, even at the cost of his own life. Alex asks the dragon if he really didn't understand that this explosion wouldn't work against the demon. He also says that people are just using dragons, that's all. Another deafening explosion is heard. Zeke grabs the child and tries to protect him with his own body. The shockwave throws the guy back, but he does not stop holding the small child tightly. He falls to the ground again. His body gradually begins to turn into ice, cracks appear on his face. He begins to lose hope that he will be able to save at least one defenseless child. Suddenly, he feels something warm appear on his back. A second later, he hears a familiar voice. Demiurge sits in front of him, who does not understand how people are going to defeat him if they are so weak. They thoughtlessly risk their lives to save others. He cannot believe that demons have been losing to humans for centuries. Zeke apologizes to the main character for leaving the place. He promises that this will not happen again. After these words, he loses consciousness. The story continues after some time. Zeke opens his eyes slightly. Everything seems to be in a fog. He cannot distinguish between what is a dream and what is reality. He closes his eyes to fall back into deep sleep, but suddenly he rises sharply and realizes that he is alive. But what about the dragon? What happened to this huge monster and Mr. Demiurge? He looks around and realizes that he is in the same penthouse where he brought the main character when they first met. He scratches his head and tries to understand what happened. Then, he turns his attention to his hand, which, to his great surprise, is in place. He is very surprised and removes the blanket to see what happened to his feet. He discovers that his legs are fine. And Zeke also notices that both his arm and legs are covered in strange purple stitches, as if someone had literally glued his limbs back to his body. Besides this, there is not a single scratch on his body, although he clearly remembers that during the battle he was covered with wounds. But how is this possible? Suddenly, he hears a familiar voice. Listening more closely, he realizes that it is the voice of Demiurge. He looks outside to make sure his ears are not deceiving him. He sees Alex and the main character, near whom there is a huge amount of weapons of various types, from swords to shields. "Oh, are you awake yet?" Demiurge asks, looking at the awakened Zeke. Zeke replies that he woke up, but what happened to his body? And this is not the most important thing. What happened to the child he tried to save? Demiurge replies that they dealt with the dragon, but he shouldn't worry about the child. Everything is fine with her. And if Zeke has already enjoyed his sleep, then let him come down quickly. They have a lot of work. They need to build a weapons store. Zeke doesn't know what to answer. He looks at the main character in bewilderment, but then he smiles. The thought flashes through his head that as soon as he looks at the face of the Demiurge, his soul immediately becomes calm. He says that he will come down and help them now. After Zeke recovered from the recent battle, they again take orders from the Golden Dragon. This time the dragon they have to deal with is attacking the city. Residents run away in horror, but our heroes fearlessly rush towards danger. The main character turns to Zeke. Demiurge says that it is time to go on the attack. After this, Z tells Alex that he is ready. Alex immediately begins executing his part of the plan. He jumps out of the portal and rushes straight towards the dragon. They deal with this dragon quite quickly, taking into account the mistakes from previous battles. Every time they managed to defeat the dragon, it somehow disappeared without a trace. The story continues the day after the final battle. Zeke yells at Demiurge to look outside. Wiping his sleepy face, Demiurge approaches the edge of the penthouse and looks out onto the street. At first, he doesn't understand what's happening, but soon he raises his head up and sees weapons falling from the sky like rain. He then turns his gaze to Alex and Zeke. The two stand with joyful faces and eagerly accept the gratitude of the Golden Dragon, who rewards them for the work they have done. Usually, as soon as they dealt with the dragon, the next day the weapon was in their hands. After this, they continued their brave journey. Their next opponent was a dragon in the forest area. It was not easy to fight him. His agility was like a snake. The long body moved so fast that they could barely follow it. Again and again, they went to places where dragons captured by parasites dared to disturb the peace. Then, their enemy becomes a dragon of simply monstrous size, living not far from the sea territories. Most often, they returned to the village in the late afternoon, when the sun was gradually setting. The village was still being rebuilt. And despite being busy hunting dragons, Zeke did not forget about his noodle shop and fed everyone who came to him. The main character and Alex did not refuse a portion of delicious noodles. They ate the incredibly tasty dish at a monstrous speed, asking for more every time. Zeke loved watching how the noodles he cooked gave happiness and hope to other people. The main character continued to eat noodles as if nothing had happened. But his meal was interrupted when a small piece of paper fell into his plate. The note says that it is time for them to go to Schnurrera Island. Demiurge doesn't even finish the noodles and orders everyone to pack their things. They go off to fulfill a new order. Their new enemy is a dragon, whose body is like a giant skeleton. But Zeke, having already gained experience in previous battles, is not afraid of such a huge creature. The main character orders him to attack. This is how their journey continued. They found the dragon and then dealt with it. After that, they did the same with the other dragon. And again, they dealt with the dragons that came their way. Zeke has changed so much that not a drop of fear is visible in his eyes. With the help of his allies, he quickly deals with the first dragon. Then it happens again and again. Every time the mother of dragons tells them where her children are, they immediately rush there in their chariot, and then deal with the huge creatures, whose further fate is still unknown to us. The mother of dragons does not forget to reward those with whom she has entered into a contract. Every time they fulfill their part of the deal, she fulfills hers the next day, giving them huge sets of various weapons, swords, daggers, axes, shields, and much more. After the battle with the red dragon, whose appearance is similar to the devil, Zeke, all wrapped in bandages, slowly steps forward, almost completely covered in blue blood. He is distracted from his thoughts when he hears someone's voices. The town's inhabitants proudly praise the hero, who bravely fought and defeated the dragon. Sir, I kakosu water in naden meter. Turnwait, our turns to Zeke as Nelweg. Demiurge praises Zeke for a job well done, to which Zeke responds by doing the same. This is how, after numerous battles with dragons, Zeke's squad becomes very famous in these lands. After this, we return to the present time, to the very village where the main character decided to begin his human life. Demiurge looks straight and asks Alex if he is finished. Alex answers in the affirmative. They had to do a lot of work, but the result was worth it. They open the demon's first weapon shop and are ready to receive visitors.